Okay, quick update on where we're at. I've got my 8 sides and tops and bottoms of the 2 boxes cut out. I now need to cut a groove down the back of each of these to receive what will be the back of each of the boxes. And I'm going to try and do something a bit tricky where similar to how traditional furniture makers back in the day and today used to make drawer bottoms, where they're able to slide in and then be held in with you know, 1 or 2 or 3 screws to allow them to expand and contract. I want to do the same with these backs, but I want them to be able to slide out into the middle section, so if at a later date the customer ever needs to add holes for more plugs or anything like that, they can do so. So it won't be encapsulated completely. So I'm going to have to make these 2 sides a little bit shorter to allow that to slide out through. But I'll worry about adjusting the size on those sides later. But for now, I need to get some grooves cut, and that will determine the size of the backs that I'll be making, and then I need to make the backs. Cutting these grooves is pretty standard practice. I'm just taking a first cut at 10mm deep, a set distance away from the back edge, and then once I've done that on all of them, I'll move the fence to take the width of what my backing will be, taking into account the thickness of the blade, and then it's just a combination of several more passes to hog out the rest of the material until I've got the full groove left over. And then once I've done that on what you'll see there is 6 of the 8 pieces, I need to come back in and do the final 2 pieces, which will be those inside visible faces of the boxes I was talking about that will have the backing be able to pull out through them. And what I'm doing there is I'm making the grooves 3mm offset from all of the rest of them. And I'll explain why I'm going to do that probably in the next episode or the episode after that, when I actually remove the piece that will stay attached to the backing. So I just spent the last half hour cleaning up my dad's old Stanley number 71 router plane, so I could just clean up the grooves that I cut with the table saw, because I don't have a dado stack and I don't have any flat grind blades that would leave me with a perfectly smooth internal surface. So you definitely won't be able to see it, but you might be able to hear it. There's a few little ledges in there, so I just want to clean those up so they slide nice and smoothly when the time comes to put the backs on. Sweet, now that I've got those all sorted out, I need to mark and cut in the dominoes on all of the miters. These really add to the structural integrity of the glue up, as it primarily is just end grain to end grain, so they're quite important. Get these ones done, and then in the next lot I do notice that there's a slight ledge left over from when I was cutting the miters on the table saw, so you know what time it is. Sorry about that. So now that I've got those sorted, I'm gonna rip down and book match these thin panels for the backing. Doing several passes, just taking a light pass on each side and then raising the blade all the way up for the final pass, and then the last little bit I just take off on the bandsaw.
and then I've got to go back to the jointer and the planer and get everything smoothed up, ready for glue ups.
So after resawing them, I've had to go back through the thicknesser, and then because there's usually quite a bit of tension released when you rip them down the middle and do the book matching, I've had to go back to the jointer again and then back to the thicknesser again after that to get them as flat as I can. But we've got the stock for one back and stock for a second back, and we've got some nice spalted book matching in the middle of the two backings. So I'll go ahead and get those glued up. Might do it in two sections just because they are quite thin. I was hoping to keep them at 10mm, but they've had to come down to 8.5 just to accommodate the cupping that took place after resawing them. So I'll get on to that.
With these ones being so thin, I'm not going to bother with any dominoes or anything like that. I'll just eyeball them and get them as flush and level as I can, just checking for flatness as I go. And yeah, I'll just get those glued up, leave them overnight to dry, and then in the morning I'll be coming back and getting on to the rest of the parts for the pull-out backings, and I'll also be doing some work on the top of each of the boxings to give them something to connect to the underside of the desktop.